You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Kind of crazy to believe that we're at the end of the regular season.
We're done. It's over.
and
Regular season.
This goes hand in hand, but like it's November this week.
That's right. It is. Yes, Wednesday.
Where did the time go?
It has flown by. I remember end of July doing interviews with the senior players, and now here we are. They've played their last game, most likely, at Gursky Stadium. Senior night was Friday night. Got to see many of them carried off the field at the end, which is a fun tradition. I don't think it happened last year. I think everyone kind of forgot about it.
I thought one person did last year. I feel like there was one, but like it didn't.
Because we even did. My pictures popped up from 2 years ago in the rain, and I have pictures of guys getting carried off.
That
then.
might be what I was thinking of.
Definitely happened then, but last year I feel like we finished and I don't know, just didn't dawn on everyone by the time until like everyone was off the field.
I think it dawns more when it is the last game too, not just the last home game or the last regular season game. Anyway, because last year would have been against McCaskey at home, right?
I believe
and
so,
I think
yeah.
Literally their minds had already shifted to the Township.
Okay,
game.
now we need to go to Township, right?
Right.
But welcome to the show, everyone. This is, I think, episode 15 of season 9.
That is all your department.
I do want to thank Mike Drago and Jeff Reinert for joining us last week.
Yes.
Excellent show talking about Wilson Township, which we will recap here momentarily. Bulldogs losing to the Streaks, but honestly, we'll get into it. But look, I'm obviously bummed that we lost and didn't win the second championship.
Every time.
I feel like there were as many positive takeaways from the game as there were negatives.
And maybe we'll get into this.
We'll talk
There's
about
plenty
it,
of time to
but
break that down, but
no one wants to lose.
It is not all doom and gloom.
But no, it's not it's not that we didn't belong on the same field as them at all. So they've been destroying people.
Right.
So I know there were many that were very anxious.
I feel like the way I can sum it up is usually when we lose, I dread coming to do the show.
Right.
Not because I don't enjoy doing the show. I love doing the show. But because it's just like, oh, this isn't nearly as much fun when we lose.
No, it's not.
And it's not. I'm not saying this is as much fun, but I did not dread it, and I think it's because I have shifted. Like I don't know. We'll break it down, but
I was the only person that picked Wilson to win in probably any poll that's out there. I'd have to check with PA football history because the Wilson Manheim Township game was included in his weekly pick'em. Which is open to anyone. It's not just for coaches or people that cover the teams or anything. He posts a Google link on Twitter, usually every Monday or Tuesday. Got to have him in by Wednesday, and I had been for 4 of the first 5 weeks he did it. I finished in second place, and I was like, I just cannot break through for a win. I don't know what happened this week, but I know Wilson Manheim Township was part of the prognostication, so I'm interested to see if anyone besides myself picked Wilson to win. I do know that people look at that. Because I know you look at it because you commented that I apparently, and I didn't know this until you said something, I extended my lead in the Fearless Friday
I couldn't remember,
forecast.
but I thought you were up 2 on everyone.
Yeah, I think I'm up 4 now.
Something like that.
I went 12 and 2
I feel like
this
someone's
past
at 107. I feel like Sam is at 107.
Okay.
I feel like you're up 3 on someone.
Okay, all right. Well, then he made some big moves then, but I know others look at that too because it was remarked to me at kickoff that they wanted to prove me right.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
I appreciate that the players are paying attention, or at least someone is pointing them in that direction if they're not looking out for it themselves. But clearly, I'm never picking against Wilson
ever.
So because Justin, I am an optimist through
Absolutely.
and through.
That is the
And
one word I would use to describe you.
Exactly. I am always there. But, we joked for many years on this show, because we've been doing it for 9 years now. For many years, they were the only good team in our sports rooting interests. At least that weren't super frustrating. Like, the Philadelphia sports and my Dolphins very rarely are good, but they're so maddening that it was not comforting. Whereas Wilson, for this entire time we've been doing this show, they were the only positive outlook in our sports rooting interest. So that's why I'm always going in like Wilson's gonna win. Wilson's going to win, and you can't change my mind.
I agree.
We know for sure that Wilson is playing in the playoffs. That was like 99.999%. It may have been guaranteed entering the week, honestly. We just didn't know when and where. Other positives from Friday night is our non-league opponents fared better than I had predicted.
They did their part.
They
honestly.
did their part, including rival Mifflin winning, as well as the late pickup of Cheltenham winning.
Which, yeah.
Now, Central Dauphin and Roman Catholic lost. It didn't hurt us.
But in all honesty, both those were underdogs.
Right.
So
basically, and I don't want to jump into this and spend forever on it, but I did leave it in here because I wanted there to be some kind of accountability to see where we're at, because last week we did talk about it, and I had talked at length that I did not think that Wilson was going to stay at 4 or 5 with a loss. I thought for sure Wilson was dropping to a 7. You can see I popped it up on the screen. This was my final prediction going into week 10. Now, why did Wilson end up at 5 instead of down at 7? Well, I said, look how close they were.
Which you also pointed out.
0.0027 away from 5, which is where they ended up. Well, what had I predicted? I predicted Mifflin to lose to Warwick, and I predicted Cheltenham to lose to Wissahickon. Both those teams won. Yeah. And you know what those wins were worth? About 0.004. Well, 2 of them at that is 0.008, which is more than the 0.0027 was separating us. So I'm glad I was wrong.
Right.
That makes me happy.
And you go into this, you mention every time we talk about the predictions, you are predicting 50, I'm 60 games.
50 to 60 teams, which ends up being like 35 to 40 games.
Right.
Because of the league matchups of pitting against
each
other.
So getting all of those right
it's tough.
Is tough.
But Township is the 1. Harrisburg is the 2. Central York is the 3. Cumberland Valley is the 4. And William Penn is the 8. It's just 5, 6, and 7. Actually, it's just 5 and 7 that got flip-flopped.
Right.
So we ended up finishing higher than Cedar Crest. Central Dauphin is the 6. So it's just Cedar Crest and Wilson flip-flop, which I know it's not how power ratings work, but it makes, I think, everyone feel better because Wilson beat Cedar Crest. Now, we're in front of Central Dauphin, who beat us. It's a wacky system.
But did Central Dauphin also end 6-4?
They did.
7-3?
Yeah, I believe they did. So did Cumberland Valley.
Right. But Cumberland Valley, we talked about this starting weeks ago. Their strength of schedule was insane. So
yep, pretty good. So power rating prediction did pretty good, and actually it went the way I'd rather it go. I'd rather me say we're not finishing in the top.
Well, yeah.
5
Imagine going into last week thinking, even if we lose, we'll be the 5, and we end up the 7.
Right. What if Mifflin and Wissahickon would have lost?
Right.
And I said they were going to win. Now we'd be on the other shoe would be on the other foot, and I didn't want that.
No.
I'd rather be the pessimist.
We've hit both sides of that coin already. We're 5 minutes into the show.
Right, exactly. So, all right, that's it for that. Let's do our housekeeping here and let everyone know what's going on with the show, as long as you don't destroy the mic in the process.
I was going to say, we played both sides of the optimist pessimist, and I've punched the microphone. So
we're right on schedule. Yeah. Season 9 sponsors, thank you to my dad, Bill Mays, Mays Sandwich Shop, and White Star Tours, are presenting sponsors of Season 9 of the Bulldog Hour. Also, in addition to Mays Sandwich Shop and White Star Tours, we want to thank MikeDragosports.com, the Hop family, Andy Herr, and our 5 anonymous donors. In addition to sponsorships, advertising, and donations, you can also help out the program by visiting BulldogHour.com. I would also encourage everyone to subscribe to the show and the Wilson football accounts across social media, especially on YouTube. You can find Wilson Bulldogs football on there. Subscribe, hit the notifications so you can always find out when we're live for any show, whether it's Bulldog Hour or something else Wilson football related. And also check out your podcatchers. If you listen to the show after the fact, audio only, make sure you subscribe and rate and review on platforms that allow that. I know for certain Apple Podcast does, and we're also on Spotify and a variety of other platforms as well. And then, of course, Justin's favorite.
Yeah, like and share, help spread the word. Like you said, and we talked about this earlier this week. We both got a lot of feedback from last week's show, having Mike and Jeff on. Gave us a lot of feedback. That was really cool. So, yeah, having Mike and Jeff on, leading into the Township game, playoff talk. There was lots of feedback that we got from people, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. People love listening to that show. They like to get the discussion from Mike and Jeff. I love having guests on the show, and I would hopefully we'll have one more on during this the latter part of season 9.
Yeah, hopefully we have a lot of shows left.
We always want to get to 20. That's the goal. We're at 15 right now, so got hopefully 4 or 5 left in us here. But yeah, Jeff and Mike were great last week. We'll reach out to some other people, see if we can get them on the show here in the coming weeks. We will not have a show next week. There is a bye next week for all of the 6A teams in District 3, so no one has a game next week. We will be back in 2 weeks to recap Wilson's game against Cumberland Valley and then preview the District 3 6A semifinals here in 2023. So we'll be back here live on Sunday, November 12th at 8:30. And I think I'm going to put up the schedule, Justin, but that schedule's done and over with because I only put up the regular season information. So I do like the graphic, though, so I like to put it up there.
I like the graphic.
So those 10, done, over with. We're moving on. I feel like I need to address one thing, though, Justin, and that is the way that people get into the playoff game.
Oh, yeah.
This is a huge deal.
I was actually
now.
thinking, I didn't want to jump ahead on you because I knew you were going to bring this up.
Yeah, let's cover this now.
But I thought about it when you were saying that they can follow all of the football account socials to get information about just the program in general, including how you will need to pay and access your tickets for admission to the playoff game in, what is that, like 10 days or ish?
Right.
For on Friday the 10th, is that?
Friday the 10th.
Yeah, on Friday the 10th. All District 3 like playoff games for multiple sports, football, field hockey, boys and girls soccer, volleyball, cross country, all of that stuff. All of the ticketing for that is digital, online, and online only. There is no show up, ticket seller in the booth,
Not happening.
No, there may be a ticket seller in a booth who is scanning your QR code from the ticket that you have on your phone or that you have printed off if you really want to. But I did this for the girls' soccer game on Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday was the girls' soccer game. I bought the tickets on my phone. It's easy. They email you.
Just get it done.
Almost immediately. You get an email, and that email will have a PDF attachment.
Can you save it to your phone, like the wallet app or anything? Or is it
I don't think so because it is truly like a PDF. I did not see that option pop up right away because it is a PDF that you can easily print out. Like if you're doing this from like a computer or something that has access to a printer, you could print it out if you wanted to because it is in like print format. It's not like Penn State tickets or Phillies tickets or something where it is purely a digital ticket. This is just a digital copy of a hard copy of a ticket.
Okay.
I'd say I say old school. It's not really old school. This is just, but like, how like before we had the digital tickets that are purely on your phone, like through apps and stuff, how you would just get the email like PDF version. This is that. And it is, in my opinion, it is kind of a pain because you have to, I zoom in a little bit, I pinch on the phone, get the QR code, and then you got to swipe down to the next one, you're like swiping through the pages of the PDF to get to the next one, because I had 3 on my phone.
We'll live demo this, Justin. If you'll get out your credit card and
Yeah.
verbally tell me
Yeah,
your
yeah,
credit
exactly,
card numbers.
exactly.
No, but I will. If you're watching this live, I have the website up on the screen, and I'm going to click through it just to show everyone what to do. But I also added the website link here.
Right.
Obviously, you can't click on it, but you can see it and copy it down.
And it is hyperlinked on the Wilson School District athletics page. On the athletics homepage, there is a link that you can click on the hyperlink to this site.
And I also included it on 2 posts today already,
Perfect.
and obviously I will post it again at least once more this week and next week.
Yeah.
To make sure everyone knows. And you can do it the day of the game. Like,
You
this isn't
can
like advanced
You can
sales
do it
that cut
walking
off.
from your car into the
Right.
stadium. That's not how my personality works.
No,
I
no.
need to do this ahead of time.
Right.
Like,
So if you're watching us live, I'm on the PIAA-D3 part of hometownticketing.com. I clicked on football, and now you can click your event. And obviously now, because 6A has a bye, our game is lower down. You can see Friday, November 10th, 6A football. We are right here, the second option at the moment, 6A football, Cumberland Valley versus Wilson. All you got to do is click on Get Tickets. You just increase the number that you would like to buy, and everyone needs a ticket. They're all $6 for the first 2 rounds. I believe they're $8 for the championship game. Once you have the quantity you want, you hit checkout, and then you go through and autofill the stuff out. And there's options here about express checkout. You can worry about all that stuff yourself. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood. This is what you have to do.
Right. It's not my favorite, but it worked seamlessly for me. But I was prepared going in. I know that there were some people who were not prepared going in, and it was a little more difficult because they're there trying to do it on the spot. It's not fun. And you're feeling rushed, trying to get in. I would suggest buying them ahead of time and not waiting till you're there. I would highly suggest.
Agree.
And then what I did is I pulled the email up and had it pulled up on my phone already. Like I had the PDF from the email pulled up already. I would imagine it's something that you can save files to your your phone and things like that. I don't think it would necessarily appear in the like Apple Wallet app or things like that, but
right.
Because I don't think it's that level of a ticket. But yeah, plan ahead for that. And it's not truly that there aren't tickets at the door or at the gate. That's not really accurate. You have to use this to I would definitely plan ahead and try to have it like situated on your phone
100%
before you're in line to go in. Now, I also said this to you, and I hope I am not jinxing it, but if there is a facility that should be well prepared to handle the processing of these tickets,
right.
like at the gate, it should be Cumberland Valley,
right.
Which is the host site for the PIAA championships in a few sports, including football. So from their end, I anticipate them knowing what they're doing. And so I hope we can help get the word out there quickly so that, people can also have time to figure it out and get their stuff ready so that hopefully it goes seamlessly for everyone.
Yes, that is the hope. So don't say you didn't know, because you've now heard us talk about it for 5 minutes here.
And honestly, to kind of tie into the like and share this. Let people know. Let people know so that they can take care of this ahead of time, whether it's students, whether it's yourself, whether it's grandparents. Let's try and spread the word on that, and honestly help people out. So if there's somebody who is going to have trouble with this,
yes,
help them out.
Let them know
help
sooner
them
than
out.
later.
Right. Even it can be anything. You can help them go through the process. You could have them pay you cash. If, like, let's say you have a printer, for example, or have access to a printer. Maybe they pay you, but like you print off their ticket for that. Like, whatever help looks like in that situation, help them figure out a way to get their ticketing situation squared away, and so that it can be, again, seamless
Yeah.
for everyone.
Definitely. And like I said, I will post reminders for that at least 2 more times. Honestly, probably more like 3, 4, 5 more times because we have 2 weeks.
Oh,
10 days,
Yeah.
you know. It'll definitely be in a multiple posts leading up, but take care of that now. Before we get to the township recap and the Cumberland Valley preview, I know, Barry, you're asking about hurdling interpretation because Coach Doms was very livid about that. And apparently, the fans also were pretty mad about the blocked extra point near the end of the game. I tried to pull up the PIAA rulebook, which I believe is just the NFHS football rulebook, and they do not have a very user-friendly site to find out things quickly. So I couldn't pull that up, and I would say I don't know. Also, it doesn't matter because that game is over. So there's no real reason to focus on what happened and what was or wasn't called because it's not going to change anything. Going forward, if you really want to know, we can figure that out, but I do not have the time because of the lack of a proper search function and user interface on the NFHS site.
It's not. I've tried to use it before for other stuff. It's not.
Well,
convenient at all.
I should find a digital copy of the most recent and save it so I can have quick access to it because I've actually basically every time we have a rain delay, something has come up about.
Yes, that's true.
And I'm there trying to Google and pull it up for Coach Doms, and it has been fruitless my endeavor because it's not readily available. It's not easily accessible, which is a problem. So I do not know the rule. I do believe that the official statement from the officials when Coach Doms was arguing his case was that he never left the ground, I believe is what they said.
Yeah, I think they said he went right through the line. He went
through the line without leaving the ground. So that is what they said. It may not be what anyone saw except the people wearing black and white, but that's all I was told. I did not see, I was not actively looking at that. I saw the kick block, but I'm trying to take a picture of Ben kicking the ball, so I didn't see what was happening at the line. So I have no I didn't look at the
I know
film either,
you didn't see it because you would text me like, what happened there? Yeah. Like
so unfortunately, no, I don't have a clarification on the hurtling. And obviously we know last year in our game against Hempfield, we were called for a few issues on PATs, or we did not have them called again when we were attempting a kick. So I know it's a frustrating part. We were actually told in our middle school games that there is no such rule about protecting the center, the snapper, which we find mind-boggling because then many people have told us incorrectly about lining up and touching the
pretty
snapper.
much everyone else has told us the opposite.
And those are they kind of go hand in hand there, hurdling and the snapper. So, you know, I have to find that NFHS rule book eventually for the current football rules. The only things I found was the points of emphasis this year and some minor changes, none of which were involving kicks and hurdling and snappers. So that's off-season work right there. So maybe we'll have that ready for season 10 next year, but we can't talk about it now because we got to talk about Wilson Manheim Township game 10, end of the regular season. The Bulldogs end up losing to the Blue Streaks. Was it 49-34?
Yeah.
So a 15-point loss. It's disappointing, but this team was absolutely obliterating people.
Everyone. I don't think they hadn't given up a point in like October.
Right. They had 3 straight shutouts, I believe. The most points they had given up all year was 28. I kept forgetting about that Springford had put up that many, and I don't know how many when Springford got to 28 and if it was, you know, when the game was still in question. All the other games, they held their opponent to 6, 7, or like Justin said, 0. So when Wilson kept scoring and kept pace, since midway through the second period, the game was tied, essentially. Other than the extra point, I guess, would be the difference. Right. So, unfortunately, things started sluggish, slow, especially defensively. Gave up 3 touchdowns by the midway through the second quarter. And then all of a sudden, the Wilson offense was able to open up. They got that score before half. Unfortunately, Township went right down the field and scored again to make it 28-7 at halftime. But then in the second half, the team just kept fighting. It was really tough to slow down the Blue Streaks, and we knew that going in of how talented Hayden Johnson, Landon Kennel, Asher Wolf, Declan Clancy, and the attitude and demeanor of their line in blocking in the trenches. We knew it was going to be a fight, and we just broke too many times. I think we forced one punt the whole game, and that punt they didn't even kick the punt because we blew through their line coverage, and they just decided to go down. We're going to make you beat us. We'll give up this. Instead of getting the punt blocked, we're just going to say, we give up. And that's what happened. They didn't attempt to punt the rest of the game. Now, they also converted a lot of those fourth downs, so it didn't matter. But there was definitely, at least it felt like there was some unease with Manheim Township, at least defensively for them, right, because they weren't able to stop us. Now, I'm sure they have reasons for that, but the second half, offensively, special teams, I thought it went really well.
Yeah, I honestly thought we adjusted on the fly. The way the game started, I didn't know how that was going to go.
Yes, thank you. Chase Parsons is the one that forced the stop the punt, right?
Oh, it may have been.
Yeah.
It may have been.
So great. It was a really, really great punt.
Yeah.
Punt formation, like the way that they moved things around.
Yes.
And found mismatches and had people break through the line. And it was a great scheme, and they executed it to perfection.
Right. But yeah, I thought the adjustments that were made, the things that were going, I liked it. I thought it was good. I know I kind of like go back and forth because I know, and I said this to you then, like our goal isn't to be close. I know that's not the ultimate goal, but I felt like I left that game encouraged that this team can do the things they need to do to win more football games this year. Right. And all right, we're at a point where all the games are going to be tough now. It's not, there's no, we've got a cakewalk, and that's not happening anymore.
No, every game's going to be
right.
a battle.
We're at that point where every game is going to be tough. So because of that, seeing the things that I felt like that I would need to see in order for us to win more football games this year, I feel like I saw a lot of those things on Friday night. Now, unfortunately, we were playing one of the best teams we're going to play all year.
Yeah.
I feel like we played well enough on Friday night to beat 8 of the teams on our schedule. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. No, I think you're right.
Roman and Township were the two that aren't, that where it wasn't going to get it done. But I feel like if we play the way we did on Friday night, I feel like we beat the other 8 teams on the schedule. Unfortunately, we were going against one of those 2 other games. However, I feel like it was a step in the right direction. I know it wasn't a perfect game, and I know there were lots of us, including us, who were like, it's going to take a perfect game. Well, you know what? It might. It might take a perfect game, and we didn't quite have that perfect game, but I feel like we did lots of things.
Yeah, I feel like enough
that made me
done.
feel like we can play closer to that perfect game. Because in reality, we say perfect game. In reality, no one's playing a perfect game. You're not going to go out there and win 100+ plays. It's not going to happen.
Right.
What you need to do is win enough of the big ones, and rebound well. And this is the key to me. Rebound well from the ones that don't go right. Right. And maybe the first 10 minutes of the game, I don't want to say we didn't respond, but we got punched in the mouth in the first 10 minutes of the game. Then after that, we responded really well. And that's what I think.
And since at least the Springford game, and again, I don't know exactly how close that was. I know the final was, 63-28?
I don't think it was that close.
Township hadn't been punched in the mouth at least since then, which was week 2 or 3?
No, they hadn't played anyone that could hang with them at all.
If there's a next time, and there's possibility. Honestly, there's only one game in between now and when that would be. if Wilson beats Cumberland Valley, and if Manheim Township beats York William Penn, Wilson and Manheim Township will play in the second round in the district semifinals, which would be November 17th. So that there is an opportunity on the horizon. And obviously, at no point am I saying we need to look forward to that game, because all I care about right now is the Eagles. But as we've discussed since the game, and as was said post-game, there is a blueprint there that they now have. And some sports cliches or football cliches also prove true, which we failed at. We weren't able to get off the field defensively, so we have to be better on third and fourth down. You have to force them to punt. You have to force them to be uncomfortable. By and large, that didn't happen at all. So that's one area that you look at. We have to improve there. Can we? I hope so. It's not a given, because the Township offense is such quick hit and still can be big play that it's tough.
It was 42-14 at half, if what I'm reading is correct. That's Springford.
Okay.
And then Springford outscored them 14-7 in the third quarter, but got outscored 14-0 in the fourth quarter.
Okay, so they probably played most of that game, if not all of it. So then we were the biggest test since then, because they breezed through the rest of the games.
But if they scored first in the second half, they would have put the mercy rule in, and maybe they didn't.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
but
I don't
anyways,
know. Yes.
The other thing is, we lost the turnover battle. Now,
Yep.
I believe it was only 1-0.
It was.
But you can't lose the turnover battle
Right.
if you want to win, especially against great
and
teams.
the way the game ended up going. Now, it wasn't this way at that point, but the way the game ended up going was like neither team was stopping the other team.
Right. Whoever has the ball
That
last.
essentially turns into a possibly a 14-point swing. Now, again, that's revisionist.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on,
Right.
a lot of moving parts.
Assuming we score is a big assumption, and assuming we stop them from scoring is also a big assumption.
Even
So,
larger assumption.
Right. So
my third point about should these teams meet again is, and this relates back to number one about not being able to get off the field, failing on third and fourth downs, not getting a stop. You have to tackle better.
yeah.
How many times was Clancy or Johnson there wasn't enough pressure on Johnson, but when the pressure was there on a few times,
right.
he slipped away.
Right.
And one time I think he threw a touchdown.
He did. Their second touchdown. I think that was their second touchdown.
Was that
I
the
think
one
so.
to Kennel?
I think down by the fieldhouse corner there. It might have been the third, but I think that was their second touchdown.
So I honestly, despite the loss, and I don't want people to be like, you're wearing your Wilson glasses. I don't think that's what this is.
The name of the show is the Bulldog Hour.
Well, also that. But I 100% believe that they can compete with that team. I mean, they already showed them competing with it. If you're able to do it for 4 quarters, will you win? Not a guarantee.
No.
And I would say it's unlikely. But is there a chance? Have you ever seen Little Giants? It just takes 1 out of 100 tries. Will we have a second shot? We're not going to get 100 shots, but will you get a second shot? Possibly.
But you got to handle your business to get there.
Absolutely. And that requires beating Cumberland Valley at home.
Right.
Which I don't think Wilson's had to do since 2011.
They did it then.
They did it then. We wouldn't know. We weren't there. Longtime watchers of the Bulldog Hour understand all that. But I want to look at some of the stats here from the game. And mostly Manheim Township first. Because Clancy, the running back, 22 carries, 145 yards and a touchdown. He was a brute, tough to bring down.
Yeah, he was.
Had a lot. I honestly didn't realize he had rushed for that many yards.
Yeah. How many attempts again?
22.
Yeah. See, that's higher than I would have thought, but he was very effective.
So only he and Johnson carried the ball. They have a team rush in there that might have been off of a fumble or something. I'm not sure.
Did they down it at the end?
Possibly.
That's what that is.
One?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
So
that is.
only the running back, starting quarterback rushed the ball. They rushed for a total of 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson was 22 of 26 for 272 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Which put him at 40 for the year and 0 interceptions.
Not only that, the team itself only committed 2 turnovers in 10 games.
That's crazy.
That's how you win a lot of football games.
That's crazy.
The other thing, and this is the one that really stuck out to me, is I know the team wanted to limit what Kennel was going to do because he's one of their best players. It's tough with the guys they have out there.
They've got guys everywhere.
But even us trying to limit what he did, and we sort of did, and if we kept it at the end zone, I would say it was a success. Unfortunately, he did get the one score. He only had 4 catches, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. But basically, everyone was that. They're a clone of each other.
Right.
Because Haberbosch had 5 for 34. Asher Wolf had 4 for 66. Clancy had 4 for 26 and a touchdown. Vasquez had 3 for 58 and 2 touchdowns. And then Palumbo had 2 for 36 and a score. So Johnson was just able to throw it wherever. If his first read's gone, on to 2. Second read's gone, on to 3. Third read's gone, on to 4 because we couldn't get pressure.
Right.
A quarterback that's that quick, that accurate, and then can read as well. If you're not pressuring him, you're done.
Right.
And he was able to be the distributor and the big play guy. Honestly, I think maybe that they didn't have a touchdown over 40 yards. Like the longest completed pass was 36. I think that was one to Asher Wolf. So none of their touchdowns were big play touchdowns, at least in the passing game. And actually, Clancy had a 1 rush that went 23. So not huge plays.
Right.
This was done methodically, moving down the field, giving what the defense was letting them get.
Right.
And because of the talent across the board, you couldn't stop everyone all at once. And that's why they only punted once, and it didn't even really make much of a difference to them. They didn't care that they didn't get the punt off. So that's it. That's all for Township. Let's get to Wilson. I think the biggest thing from the Bulldogs that stands out statistically is that there were only 3 rushing attempts by a running back in the game.
Yeah.
The majority of them went to quarterback Tommy Hunsiger, either by design or via scrambling. He ended up with 20 rushes, gaining 91, but losing 30 as a result of tackles for losses and sacks. So he netted 61 on his rushes. Maddox had 2 carries for 15 yards. And the running back I mentioned, Corral Akings, had 3 for 5, but he did get in the end zone for a touchdown in this game. Passing, Tommy Hunsiger, once again, a very good game. Started out slowly with the entire offense, but really played quite well from his quarterback spot. 22 of 29, 169 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was unfortunately sacked 4 times in the game. Maddox Gruber was his favorite target. He had 8 catches for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jackson Wagner was next up with 6 for 46. Edison Case had 4 for 66 yards, including a touchdown reception from Maddox Gruber on a beautiful trick play, which is up for 69 News Big Ticket triple hot play of the week. That voting is still ongoing, so check out 69news.com, WFMZ, and vote for Maddox to Edison on the trick play and get Wilson. Would that be our 3rd triple hot play of the week win?
I think it might be.
I know Tommy won back in week 2.
And did Maddox win for the one-handed catch?
Did Maddox get the one-handed catch one too?
I think so, but I don't know.
So go and vote for our Bulldogs there. And defensively, it was the Christo Hunsiker show this week. He ended up with 7 tackles, 2 for loss. Maddox Gruber, Nick Fiorini, and Adam Woods also contributing 6 tackles apiece.
Yeah, it was good having Nick back this week.
It was nice to see Nick back. He had missed 3 games with illness. Edison had a breakup from his safety spot. We also got tackles for loss from Jack Dendel, Chase Parsons, and Logan Kurzweg. That Chase one is the punt.
Yeah,
so
yep.
Nice to see special teams stepping up and Chase Parsons having his moment there on the field Friday night. When all is said and done, Justin, like always, player of the game here. You could have gone with quarterback Tommy Hunsiger. Another great game all around, and I posted that he's moving up the Wilson record book. He's firmly in the top 5 in most of the major categories, both single season wise. He has a chance to continue to climb single season and career and pass some pretty big names, including assistant coach Chad Henne for single season passing and single season touchdowns.
Hopefully he has a few games to get there.
Right, at least one. I hope he has a big game there, and it leads to a game 2, and be great to have a big one in game 2 as well. So, but we didn't go with Tommy this week, and I just mentioned a bunch of defenders flying around to the ball. But I think because of the way the offense went and the flashiness there, we're going to go and give a second player of the game award for this year to junior wide receiver defensive back Maddox Gruber. I don't even have his defensive stats listed there on his player of the game portion because most people are remembering him for the trickeration Gruber to Case for the touchdown. He also had the 8 catches, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries, and then I mentioned 6 tackles on defense. So Maddox was all over the place, making himself
everywhere.
known. And his speed kind of gave Township a little bit of an issue at times. Yeah. So he was slippery, able to evade some tacklers, get behind some defenders. And if Wilson wants to keep playing into November, deeper into November, we're going to need to see that happen against Cumberland Valley on Friday, November 10th.
Absolutely.
So a great game from the junior wide receiver defensive back, Maddox Gruber. And congratulations to all the players I mentioned. A lot of great individual performances. But everyone's going to have to be at the top of their game, Justin, in order for Wilson to see a 12th game in a few weeks. All right. So I'll check. Let me check the... all right. So we do have a couple questions here. Thomas Deeds. Hey, we got to meet Thomas at the McCaskey
that was
game.
awesome.
He came over and said hi to us. Appreciate that. And he's right. They never gave up. They fought to the very end.
Exactly.
Which is something that you and I are always looking for in the teams, especially when you're going into a game as an underdog.
Right.
And they got punched in the mouth pretty quickly.
So you're going into a game where you know this team has blown out everyone and been putting up shutouts for a month now. Been blowing everyone out all year and been putting up shutouts for a month. And you go down early, a lot of teams would have packed it in then. And we did not. We did the exact opposite, which is a huge positive.
And honestly, when they scored to cut it to 21-7 with a minute to play until halftime, and then Township drives down the field in 45 seconds and scores to make it 28-7, they could have gone into halftime and be like, even when we're at our best, we still can't stop them. What's the point? That could have been the mentality. Yeah. But it wasn't, because the second half was an evenly fought game with two offenses just looking great.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, Thomas. They never gave up and fought till the very end, which is what we always want to see in every single game, especially when you're the underdog and you're trying to tackle an opponent like that. Playoffs start in 6A in District 3, not this Friday, but the following Friday, which is Friday, November 10th. Wilson will travel to Cumberland Valley. The other classifications in District 3, I believe, start this coming Friday.
They do.
Saturday.
Some teams have buys, like Wyomissing has a bye. They were able to move up to one.
But the other teams in that classification are playing.
Yes,
it's just
there are
a few
other games.
buys for
Exeter
top
plays this week, I believe. So there are Berks County teams in action this week if you want to go out and find a game to kind of figure out where you want to go. I believe Exeter is away, actually, though. They're at Lower Dauphin. So that may not be the one you want to go to. Yeah, that's a bit of a drive.
Maybe not.
But you can probably find some games. You could even practice the ticketing situation to get,
there you go.
If you want to go through it, give it a dry run, you could do that before Wilson's game next week on the 10th.
No, the 10th is a Friday. November 10th is a Friday. That is Wilson's next game against Cumberland Valley at Cumberland Valley. Friday, November 10th is the next game. There are games in 1A through 5A in District 3 this Friday the 3rd or Saturday the 4th. But the 6A teams, the 8 teams that made 6A field, those 4 games are not being played until Friday, November 10th or Saturday, November 11th. Another question here, I believe this is also from Barry, talks about because of Township's high-powered offense, should we have wanted the ball and gone down the field or tried to go down the field immediately?
I mean, I feel like looking and you're like, if you knew we were going to score right away, possibly, but like you don't know that. I personally always want the ball started the second half.
Oh, me too.
I always,
I
even if I have the most high-powered offense, I want the ball to start the second half because I've got a chance to double up at halftime. And I want the ball to start the second half.
I also feel like, and this may not be Wilson related. This may be college, like high-level college, lower-level college, other high school. I feel like I've heard a coach say that a team taking the ball on the coin toss is a motivating factor because
Right.
they think so if they win the toss but elect to receive,
Right.
that's seen as almost like a diss.
Right.
So I don't know if a lot of coaches
Matt
buy into that.
Hasselbeck, we're going to take the ball and we're going to
We're
score.
going to score, and they didn't.
There was a score.
It was not by them. So, and again, that was not from Coach Dom's mouth. This is not me speaking from a Wilson perspective. I don't remember where I've heard that, but I've heard someone say that before. They want the ball. They think they're going to score first.
I can see that.
Of course, every little slight it can be used as a motivating factor.
Right.
So,
like, they don't want the ball. They're afraid of us.
Yeah. Sure. All that stuff, all that coach speak. So, I honestly, I don't see Wilson changing their coin toss and possession rules based on the opponent across from them. I feel like
I think they wanted the ball to start the second half.
So if they won the toss, they probably deferred.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the only way you're going to get the ball in the second half.
Yeah.
So, all right, Justin, let's move on quickly and talk about the playoffs here. We know Wilson's going to Cumberland Valley on Friday, November 10th for the quarterfinals in 2023 District 3 6A playoffs. The Eagles it's been some time. They took a few years to get rolling again, but Cumberland Valley is historically, honestly, the best team in District 3 at the highest classification. They have been the best. They have, I believe, the most appearances, most wins, possibly the most championships as well. I haven't looked at the D3 stats recently, but I believe all three of them, all three of those main categories there all belong to the Cumberland Valley Eagles.
So just a quick side note, do they have a 6A championship?
Did they beat Central Dauphin in that crazy overtime? Oh, that was before 6A though. That was 2015. Because we won the first 6A championship, 2016. I don't know. Well, Township won it in 17. Harrisburg won it in. Did Harrisburg win it? 18 and 19.
Central
20
York
was Central
won,
York. 21 and 22 was Harrisburg.
I think
So no, Cumberland Valley doesn't have a 6A championship yet. And Wilson hasn't gotten one since the first one in 2016. But Cumberland Valley is a historically incredibly strong program.
Insanely strong. Like they're up there with the best.
And you heard us mention that they started the season slowly. Now, it's because the opponents they were playing were really good.
Yeah, you want to do a deep dive into power rankings. This is how you help your opponent's winning percentage.
This is why CV is in front of us at 6-4.
Right.
They opened the season at Manheim Township, lost 35-6, and I believe that was 35-0.
It was 35-0 with a few minutes left in the game.
Near the end of the game. They then lost at home to Central York, 14-0. Central York undefeated.
Yeah.
In the
So
YA.
the first two teams they played have a combined zero losses.
Oh, and then they played Springford, whose only loss is in the PAC championship game by 1 point to Pope John Paul, who's also undefeated. So Springford went 9-1.
No, Springford lost to Township.
Sorry, you're right. I forgot they lost to Township too. Springford went 8-2,
with their only losses being to two undefeated
teams. Yes. And I honestly don't know. I think it did. I didn't check that in the power rank because I was questioning because that opponent wasn't determined earlier, it was determined later. Did that game still count in the power ratings? But because it was scheduled before the power rating cutoff, I believe that game still did count. But there are games that happened in Philadelphia, I believe the Public League or City League this week, that were playoff games. I don't believe those playoff games count towards power ratings.
I think you're correct.
Okay.
I think it's weird in football because we're not used to it, but that happens in basketball all the time. So, for example, the cutoff,
Berks County playoffs.
The Berks County playoff games sometimes start before the district power ranking, cutoff is, and so, Wilson, for example, may play the first round of the BCIAA playoffs, but that's not factoring into their district.
Yeah,
but if they were to play a regular season game after that, there would be a weird scheduling thing. But they could do it. That would count, but the game before it wouldn't.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is
weird.
weird. And you see it a lot in the other sports. You don't really see it in football. very
No,
often.
right. I think only in maybe some areas of the WPIAL or down in Philly where
Right.
those playoffs start earlier in week 9 or 10 that
Yeah.
those games don't count. And obviously the games that people have scheduled for Thanksgiving also do
It's
not
kind
count in the power
of
ratings.
surprising to me that WPIAL doesn't use a power ranking system.
I honestly don't know how they decide.
I just know that there was some contention in the 5A field because you have like
Was that where the Upper St. Clair didn't make
eight
it?
and 2 Upper St. Clair doesn't get in, but that's because they finished 4th in their division, so like they don't get in. They lost on the second tiebreaker, like they're like tiebreaker situations. So they have it mapped out. It's not like a selection committee necessarily,
Well,
but yeah, it's
our
just,
only state championship game losses to them, so I don't.
I knew
don't
where
have
you.
any- I don't feel bad. What 34 years later or whatever it is.
Yeah, you the optimist are
yeah, right.
not hanging on to that one at
Not-
all, right?
No, not at all. So, anyways, Cumberland Valley started 0-3. They then beat Central Dauphin East in Harrisburg in overtime, 31-24. Then got beat up by Harrisburg the next week at home at Cumberland Valley, 42-7. Then Cumberland Valley reeled off 5 straight victories to go from 1-4 and out of the playoffs
Right.
to 6-4 and the 4 seed.
And they
But-
weren't just nobodies. They
No,
beat
so
some good teams
They
here.
beat Chambersburg first, 35-20.
They
but
should, yeah.
Then they shocked Central Dauphin, who had been rolling and looking pretty good.
Right.
They beat them 19-14, and then they beat up on Carlisle on the road 30-8 before this one really shocked me.
Yeah.
They hosted State College and beat State College 17-10. So Cumberland Valley earned it, and they finished with what could have been a trap
and
game.
you look at those
at
transitive things
Altoona.
though. Like State College beat Central Dauphin handily, I believe.
Yes, 31-13.
Okay.
And it was at Central
Right,
Dauphin,
but they
too.
lost big to Harrisburg,
20-0.
and they lost.
To
I don't want to say handily, but they lost to Cumberland Valley,
17-10.
decidedly.
Yeah, the State College finished 7-3 with losses to Downingtown East, who I think was
is a beast.
undefeated this
Yeah.
year. Harrisburg, who is only losses to Manheim Township, and then Cumberland Valley, which I think is the biggest surprise. But Cumberland Valley found another gear and hit their stride for
Yes,
sure.
they did.
Reeling off 5 straight wins, 3 of which were on the road at Chambersburg, at Carlisle, at Altoona. So, but these Eagles are not the Eagles from the last time we played them, which was it that district championship game in 2016?
The
Have we played them?
famous figure out who you're going to interview.
The famous optimist Justin Rapoff coming down at halftime to me to say, who are we interviewing after we win this game? As we were down 14-0 and did not look good. Did not look good at all. But you were right. Wilson
The
won that
epitome of
28-14.
never a doubt, my friend.
Never a doubt,
never
yeah.
a doubt.
But this is not the same Cumberland Valley team
No.
from then.
Very different style.
This is not a big boy ground and pound type of situation with Charlie Catcher. That's who was on that team, the big player there. Coach Oswalt leads them now. I want to say, is this his 4th year? Fourth or fifth?
I feel like it is.
He's been there a while now.
Yeah.
He's a CV grad.
CV guy.
Coming home, he left Central York.
Yep.
Came here to Cumberland Valley, and it took some time
It
for
did.
them to get rolling. But I mean, certainly the way this season is ending,
Right.
things are looking much better.
Ending with a top 4 seed where you are hosting a playoff game, he's got it going in the right direction.
Yeah, he does for sure. I'm trying to pull up their past.
And to be honest, not easy to do in that mid-Penn conference.
Right.
like
Well,
that.
no, without the competition they have.
Right.
No. So Cumberland Valley made the playoffs last year. Narrowly pulled off an upset against Manheim Township.
Yeah.
Lost 31-37. They finished 7-3 a year ago, and almost not quite the inverse of what they did last year. But last year they beat Manheim Township to start the year. They beat Central York to start the year. They beat Springford to start the year. They did lose to Harrisburg. They then lost to Carlisle, which I think that was a surprise. That was an unfortunate loss for them. They lost to State College pretty big. So last year they started strong, but kind of ended with a whimper.
Yeah.
This year is the exact opposite. But they had been struggling for a few years under Coach Oldswall after he, was trying to change what they were about. They were 5-5, I think. Was it 5-5? Yeah, 5-5 in 2021. Didn't quite have enough to make the playoff field. Then in the abbreviated 2020 season, they were 3-5. But again, finishing with 2 wins at the end of the year, including one they let people schedule games late and into the playoffs that year because things got started late, especially in the Mid-Penn. But it's been a few years since Cumberland Valley has been this high in the power ratings and entering the playoffs. They get to host a game, which is big. I know everyone was hoping that we'd get one more shot at Gursky, but it didn't happen. We'll get to go to Cumberland Valley in their renovated facilities, which I have not seen yet.
I have not either. I told you, I've been there a lot. Not for a long time, but I've been there a lot.
Have you watched a football game there?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never been, and I was actually talking to my parents about this before because the only other time, so when we lived in Columbia, we would see some places because of district games, but not it had to be a district championship game because the District 3 1 or 2A championship wasn't always at Hershey. It would be somewhere else. So when Columbia won the district title, it was at Middletown, I believe. Okay. So but I don't know that I've ever seen a football game there. I've parked near the football stadium a ton of times because it's right by the natatorium. But yeah.
So I have, but not in the new one.
Right.
I was on the team, losing to them my sophomore year, which I vividly remember because I forgot my spikes. Didn't matter at all. I was not going to see the field in any capacity.
So Natalie comes by naturally.
Yes, Natalie knows my pain. But that was the end of that season. We finished 9-2. It was my cousin's last game. He was a senior that year. Lost to them. I think it was 21-7 or something like that. Yes, exactly. It's right there in front of me. 4A semifinal, 21-7. Cumberland Valley's gotten the best of Wilson many times. However, we have not played them since the championship in 2016. And that was a come from behind 28-14 win for Wilson.
I distinctly remember them being all right, Isaiah Gilmore. I think, was that sophomore Isaiah Gilmore?
Yes, it was.
Sophomore Isaiah Gilmore. Go out there and guard the Penn State recruit.
The Penn State recruit,
We're putting you on an island. And he held his own, which was...
He did. I actually think he may have exited that game with a concussion or neck head injury type thing.
Yes.
Isaiah Gilmore still playing college football because of the rules and redshirting and things like that. I believe that if not the team's leading tackle, the second leading tackler from his safety spot. Which I talked to his dad about that. He's like, that's not good, right? I'm like, I'm aware that's not a good thing, but he's balling out. Looks really good for Shippensburg.
Good for him.
I believe a team captain. So
awesome. That's good for him.
Pretty good experience. But yes, back in 2016, he was a sophomore on that championship team against Cumberland Valley. So Wilson and Cumberland Valley played a lot, and then it kind of went silent.
Which is funny because I feel like now a lot of this was not playoff, but also regular season. But Central Dauphin disappeared from our schedule, including postseason, and Central Dauphin has found their way in.
Right? That's exactly. So other than the 2016 championship game, we had not played Cumberland Valley since the 2011 4A semifinal that we've already mentioned once on the show. That was the last time we had played them. So this will be the first time we played them in a non-championship game in 12 years. But a huge history with them, including them ending our season both in 2009 and 2010.
Yeah, those hurt.
Yeah, those were rough ones. That was right when I had moved back and was watching the game. Actually, that 2010 game was when basically all of this began. Not Bulldog Hour, but me covering the team on social media and taking pictures and tweeting about it started on, I believe it was November 1st, 2010 against Cumberland Valley.
This is a very random thought, but you know what you're getting
I
with
love
me.
random.
Right. Do you have any idea what game it was that you were away and I had to do the tweets for you?
Yeah, it was against Hempfield in 2014.
Okay.
I had a wedding.
I'm not sure I've ever.
I had a wedding in the Pittsburgh area.
I was so nervous.
Yeah, you were in charge of that. I remember.
Yeah.
But they won, so it's no issues. You were fine.
Right.
Coach Steve O'Neill joining in. Go Broncos! He's
Hey.
a longtime suffering Denver football fan.
Yes.
Got the victory today over the Chiefs. Kind of crazy, but no Chad Henne out there anymore. So Chiefs are struggling. Chiefs are struggling.
Yeah. What that stat I sent you was insane. It was Mahomes' first road division loss.
Ridiculous.
And the last time the Broncos, I'm sorry, Coach Steve. The last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs, the quarterbacks. It was a quarterback matchup of Alex Smith versus Peyton Manning.
Interesting.
Yeah. So hey, but that defense looked good today. But
so looks like I'm just looking at this PIAA District 3 football chronology for Wilson. Wilson's first game played Cumberland Valley and lost, 1984. Wilson's second playoff game played Cumberland Valley and lost, 1985. Wilson's fourth game played Cumberland Valley in 1987 and lost. Fifth game overall, fourth game against Cumberland Valley, got the win, 1989, 7-3. And that would be the year that they would lose to Upper St. Clair in the state championship game, also already mentioned on the show. 1990 also got to play Cumberland Valley, and that's the one that matters there. That's that Fog Bowl victory, stealing a victory from the jaws of defeat, for sure. And that's Collins to Creris, I believe. I've played that clip a few times. Have you seen that? It's tough to see
so
because
I've
the
only
fog.
seen it once, but it was through you showing it to me. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I believe so.
I say see it as in we've watched it. You can't see anything.
Can't see that. It's tough. So I think in 1992, Wilson lost to Cumberland Valley 20-14. I believe Cumberland Valley was the number 1 seed in districts that year, and had been pretty unstoppable. Had a really, really good team. Wilson struggled. We weren't undefeated or anything like that. Obviously, good enough to make the playoffs, but
back in the four teams in four
it was
divisions.
even more random in the 80s and 90s. About how they
you're right.
Figured out state playoffs and district playoffs, but Wilson hung with that Cumberland Valley team, which I believe went on to win the state championship. That was with John Ritchie.
Yes.
So,
yes.
A lot of history with Cumberland Valley. Interesting to see them back here for a playoff game. But like I said, it's been a while. 2016, last game in the championship. 2011, last time it was just a non-championship playoff game. That one was at Cumberland Valley. So actually, we haven't hosted them in a playoff game then since 2010.
Right.
So, and think about how many years there were 16 teams making the playoffs, and you had all these opportunities to meet up. And
part of the thing too, though, was like rarely were one of Wilson or Cumberland Valley at that time in the top or bottom part of the bracket.
Right.
Like separated. They were both in the top of the bracket most of the time, so like it's been a long time. So, so we'll see.
So expect Cumberland Valley to look different than before. They're not ground and pound. They have a big time recruit at, I believe, offensive tackle.
Yeah, he was starting since his freshman year.
Right, it was, and
I think he might only be a sophomore.
I was gonna say I think he's only a sophomore. And they're now spread team, so it'll be interesting to see Cumberland Valley running a spread offense, trying to air it out a bit. They're still gonna be tough. That's just the way Cumberland Valley is in everything.
Yeah. Don't let the 6-4 fool you. Like we said, we went through the
they played
schedule
a
there.
gauntlet to start the season, and then started to hit their stride and beat teams like Central Dauphin and State College, who are also
still alive, still
very
playing
good
football.
Teams. Yeah, very good teams.
Yeah, all of their losses came to teams still playing.
Yes,
all of their not all of their wins, but a few of their wins have come against teams that are still playing.
Right.
Hey, they're
in a
good spot. And they're getting to host a game. They're They're going to be pumped.
They're going to be ready to go. So buy your tickets online.
Yes.
Check the link. We talked about it on here. Rewind the show and listen if you need to. Look out for my posts. I will make sure everyone has enough notice to take care of that and not have any issues at Cumberland Valley on Friday, November 10th. Not this Friday, the following Friday, right before Veterans Day.
Right.
We'll be down or over at Cumberland Valley for District 3 6A quarterfinal here in 2023. Justin, you got anything else? Vote for Maddox and Edison that play on WFMZ.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's about it. I can't believe the regular season's over. It's crazy. It's November.
Yep.
On Wednesday.
Check out my photo album from senior night. Nearly 1,200 images posted. Yes. It took me a long time to go through everything and make.
Has there been nicer weather for the last home game?
No, because 2 years ago it was awful.
I'll never forget. So the booth I'm in up there, it was raining so hard sideways.
I was up there with you.
That the back wall was getting wet, and we had the garage door style thing down as far as we could take it, still have the camera. It was cool. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
I don't think we're gonna luck out with at least the temperature in 2 weeks, 10, 12 days, whatever. But if it's not raining, I count that as a win. So fingers crossed for that as we go down to Cumberland Valley to tussle with the Eagles. So check out the album. Figure out how to buy your tickets. Stick with us. No show next week. I am once again in Pittsburgh for a wedding, so we're not going to have a show this next week. It fit in perfectly. No Wilson game. I can take off for a bit. So we will be back in 2 weeks, November 12th. Hopefully not for a season finale episode.
Yeah, hopefully we have a preview next show.
I don't want to be talking about season 10. I want to be talking about episode 17 of season 9 and not episode 1 of season 10.
Yeah.
Which we got a lot of people that want to talk to us in the off-season shows. We got a list, so I don't know. This maybe off-season we go monthly in the off-season. I don't know, we'll see if there's enough people that want to talk to us about high school football, Wilson football in general.
Oh, wow.
We'll certainly have them on.
One thing we did not mention on the show, and we forgot to really mention it last week, was our hats last week. Our Dolphin and Eagles hats. Go Birds.
Yeah, don't need to talk about that. I mean, this week went better for me. It was just the Patriots. They're terrible. New England's terrible. It's so good to say that. So, all right. I think that's it for us then here. Episode 15 of the Bulldog Hour's 9th season in the books. Thank you for tuning in. Continue to subscribe, rate, review, like, share, all those good things. Justin and I will be back in 2 weeks. Until next time, for Justin Raffoff and the entire Wilson football program, I'm Joe Mays. And remember, go Bulldogs.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.